All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited for this second session of the KWL Hub platform training sessions. We know how precious these summer days are, so we appreciate you spending any of them with us. I'm joined by my colleague Matthew. We'll go ahead and introduce ourselves in just a moment, and we're actually just going to jump right into it. So I'll start off by going over our agenda. So first, we're going to do some quick welcomes and introductions for about 5 minutes. Remember, this is a 60-minute session in total, so we've tried to break it up nicely to make sure we cover everything in a timely manner. Then we have our full presentation of the KWL Hub, where we'll go over a variety of different things. We will have a Q&A session at the end to make sure we cover anything and everything that you want to make sure we go over or review, so you leave here feeling confident. And then at the end, we're going to have a nice wrap up and go over our support resources that are available to you to help you along well beyond today and throughout the entirety of your usage of the Foreign Languages materials. So we'll jump right into our meeting our presenters. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself first. My name is Christy O'Connor. I am the Customer Success Manager here at KWL Languages. I am based in Connecticut. And I'm a former language teacher myself. I taught high school Spanish for 7 years, and I have a bachelor's degree in Spanish from Western Connecticut State University, as well as a master's in secondary education from Sacred Heart University, both located here in Connecticut. I'm also a lifelong crafter. I love knitting, crocheting, quilting, and so much more. So just a nice little human thought about me before I pass it on to my colleague, Matthew.
All right, thank you, Christy. So, hi, everybody. I'm Matthew Woods. I'm one of the EdTech operations specialists here at KWL Languages. I am part of the West Coast team, so I'm based in Los Angeles. And just like Christy, I'm a former educator. I taught in a classroom for about 7 years, mostly elementary school students. And I have a master's degree in educational pedagogy. And while I was in the classroom, I became a Google certified teacher and trainer. And that's kind of what led me on the journey into EdTech and into KWL Languages. And I'm excited to be with everybody here today.
Great, thank you so much. And now we'll just go over a couple of quick norms to make sure we understand how today's session is going to run. So the first thing to know is that today's session is geared towards teachers that have previous experience on the KWL Hub. So this is if you've been using it for 6 months, a year, many years, that's great. And we're excited to review how to go about using it and adding in some great new features to help support you as you continue to use the program. We are going to dedicate 35 minutes to a full presentational review of the KWL Hub, as well as update you on some of the new features that have been launched over the last 6 to 12 months, which we're really excited about. There will be that 15-minute Q&A session at the end. And please note for that Q&A session, we have disabled the chat. We want to make sure we're not disrupting the session at all and we're keeping focus on what's the most important, all the things that you need to know and review for making this year successful. So if you do have any questions or concerns, please use the Q&A box to submit your questions to us. There are some that maybe Matthew's going to be answering while I'm chatting, or there may be some that we're going to save to go over at the very end together as a group that maybe would be beneficial for all of us to see that question kind of walk through together. This session is also recorded. So both the slide deck of what I'm going to be presenting as well as the recording of today's presentation will be shared with everyone who's been a participant today. So don't worry, you have everything to reference back on later on. And if you are a first-time user of the platform, you don't have to log out if you don't want to. We'd love to have you here, even though this is geared for people who have used the platform already. But we just want to make sure that you know that if you do need additional support, if you've really never gone over the basics, please go ahead and check out our Getting Started guide. That is for teachers, so you can go ahead and make sure that you have everything you need to go through that beginning of the school year. And Matt has gone ahead and shared that in the chat with us. And you can also reach out to your dedicated sales representative for assistance from our KWL Languages team. So all that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the good stuff, which is getting started. So first, we're going to go over a quick review of what it is that you need to get ready for this back to school season. All those little tips and tricks to make sure you're starting off on the right foot and you have everything you need to hit the ground running. So the steps you're going to take are going to depend on how you're accessing the platform. So we're going to go over these different scenarios and how people go about accessing our platform and which teacher you are and what that means for you in regards to getting back to school. So we have three different types here. We have blue, green, and yellow, and all of them access our platform in different ways. So our blue is for people who are using rostering or integration tools in order to access the KWL Hub. This can be single sign-on, a learning management system. Some great examples are listed here. And this is going to be that your students are not purchasing their own codes. Your school or district has purchased on behalf. And that is how your students are going to enter the platform, as well as yourself, is through that rostering or integration system. On the flip side, our yellow teachers are where students are purchasing their own codes. So they get a unique access code, or maybe even you're just getting a couple of access codes, so not everyone, maybe is buying their own, but you're not using any of those rostering or integration systems. And so those are going to need an access code and a book code, or excuse me, an access book code, as well as a class code to go ahead and join their classes. And then my green teachers, you are a combo of both our blue and yellow, making green, and you are hybrid rostering integration with student codes. So you're a mixture of both. Your students have their own individual unique codes that they may probably purchased, but you also have a learning management system or integration tool that is going to allow them to access the hub and roster all the way for you in the right classes, the right room, all that good stuff. So we're going to go through each individual one and what you need to be successful for each of these different teams. So first up is our blue teachers. So when you are a blue teacher, again, you are using rostering or integration. So the first thing you want to make sure that you do is confirm that all of your classes in your roster are set up. Please make sure to note that this is usually a time-dependent situation. Often our IT teams in our schools or districts have a go live date when they're ready to push out those rosters. They're ready to get everything launched and ready to go. So if you're unsure about when that date is, or you log in and it's not there yet, please make sure you check in with your school's team to see if maybe it's just not released yet. They're not ready for that back to school like you are. You're right on the ball. So once you have gone ahead and do that, the way you're going to check everything for your classes is when you're in the platform, you're going to go to the roster section. You're going to click on My Classes, and you're going to be able to see that all of your students in your rosters are ready to go. You also need to make sure that you assign the books to those proper classes. So when we go into rosters, we're going to see here, this is kind of what it's going to look like. So you're going to make sure that you go ahead and you check to see that your classes line up with what you need, as well as the number of students that you're expecting in your roster matches as well. And again, if any of those things are not correct, something's not matching up, make sure to reach out to your IT team so that way you can verify that that information is correctly synced and good to go. And once we've gone ahead and confirmed all of that information, our rosters are perfect, we're going to go ahead and make sure that our classes have access to the books that they need. So you're going to need to assign the books that you're using to the correct classes. So make sure your level 1 class has your level 1 book, your level 2 has level 2, etc. Even if all of your classes are teaching the same book, or using the same book, you still need to make sure you're assigning that. So what you're going to do is under content on that toolbar on the left-hand side in the platform, you're going to click on assign books. And so it's going to bring you to this screen here. And this is going to allow you to follow those steps here on the right-hand side, where you're going to choose the different books that you are going to be using, choose the classes that they go with, and save it and assign it. So that way all of the students, when they log in through their rostering, they have access to the books they need in order to be successful for that school year. Next, we have our teachers with codes, our yellow teachers. Again, your students have their own unique individual access codes. You are not using any sort of LMS integration, rostering tool, any of that. So in order to make sure your students are successful for back to school and you are ready to go, you first need to make sure that you create your classes. You don't have a roster to create it for you, so you're going to individually create your own classes. So the way that you can go about doing that is again going to roster in my classes. And then you can see once we open that up, we have the ability to add a new class and name it. So once we have it named, you go ahead and click save, and your classes are going to be ready to use. And you'll see them appear in your class list, as we just saw before when we were looking at our rostered classes. So making sure that you feel good about all of your classes, they're ready to go. Then you're going to make sure that you're going to share the class code with your students. So similar to, if you have a Google Classroom where your students join with the class code, same kind of situation here. Your students need a unique code to join that class so they can see all of the wonderful work you're posting for them to see. And the way that you're going to do that is make sure that you're clicking this generate code button. This is going to make a unique code for the class that you just created that you can go ahead and share with your students. You can also regenerate the code if need be. And keep in mind, this is different from the book code, okay? We need two codes in this yellow scenario. We have our class code to join our class and see what our teacher is posting for us. And then we need our book code to actually be able to open up our book. So keep that in mind as well. And then your students need to activate their book access code as well as use that class code to join. Many students, when they're creating their accounts, they will create their account with that class code so they can go live and be right in your class right away. But they need to make sure that they have both set up, their class code and their book code. So what they can do is access either or both of those by going up to, in their student account, to their little profile name up here in the corner. So clicking on their name with the little icon of themselves. And then what they can do is go to My Account. And then they have this little section here that says Manage Access Code. So you can see we have both Add Book Access Code and Add Class Code. So depending on what they use to create their account, if they use their book code, they're going to be adding their class code. If they use their class code to create their account, they should add their book code. So they'll just need to go ahead and enter that information here, click Add, and they'll be set up to go to make sure they have both your class and their books. All right, and last but not least, we have our green teachers who are our hybrid, which is both rostering integration and student code. So you have a mixture of all the things that we have just seen, but put all together into one situation. So your students are actually needing to do something first in the scenario other than what we've been doing before, where you were doing things, setting up, and then your students were logging in. We actually kind of need to do it a little bit in reverse here. So your students need to first log in via their integration tool or LMS. So whatever you've chosen to use to log in and roster, that's the first step your students need to do, is making sure they are logging in with that integration so they can appear in your roster with your classes. Then you're going to do the same thing we did before, where you're going to confirm your roster, making sure your classes are all set up, all that good stuff. Your students have rostered themselves in, and the number is correct for your roster of students. And then your students need to activate their book access code, similar to what we just did for our yellow teachers, to access the materials. And the same steps again, they click on their profile, they go to My Account, and they enter that access code. It's really important that your students do it in this correct order, that they first go in through the integration and then they access their book code to make sure that they're rostered properly. So we really recommend that you suggest to students that they, save that book code that they've purchased until they get to the classroom. So that way they can do it with you, make sure everyone's nice, signed, sealed, delivered, and ready to go. All right, so that's pretty much the majority of what you need to start the year off on the right foot, a nice little refresh of what we need to do to be successful and get everything set up so we're good to go. Keep in mind that you have great resources to review all of this information whenever you would like. We have our wonderful KWL Hub teacher and student guides. You also, if are unsure about any of these things, or again, you need additional support, you can reach out to your dedicated sales consultant. You also have great resources that are available to you on the actual platform itself. So we have the chatbot. As you can see, this is what it looks like on the platform, this little icon of two little chat bubbles. It's a great AI bot that we've trained to make sure it's able to answer any and all questions that you have. So that should be your first line of response. If you have a question, ask the chatbot. It likely will answer you right away. And if for some reason the chatbot isn't sure or you need additional support, you can always reach out via our customer support form. This is a great resource to get you right in touch with our ed tech team and make sure that they can answer any and all questions that you need. Please keep as a reminder that we prefer that this be a teacher-only resource, the support form, making sure that we are FERPA compliant and we are following all rules and regulations needed. So if you have a student who's experiencing an issue with the platform, please go ahead and fill it out on their behalf, so that way we can keep you in the loop and make sure everyone's following all rules necessary. All right, and Matthew just linked that form in the chat, so definitely recommend bookmarking that for future use as well. So now we're getting into some exciting stuff, which is what are the new features and updates that are available to you in the KWL Hub. So we're going to jump in and look at 3 different sections of new features that are available to you and are going to improve your experience on the KWL Hub. So our 3 buckets are assignment creation, gradebook, and the new UX UI for students that we recently launched. So we're now going to take a hop over to the KWL Hub so you can actually take a look at all of these different things and see them in action. So the first one we're going to be looking at is assignment creation. So the first one that we had on our list is creating assignments directly from the course player. So if you don't remember already, previously when you were going to create some assignments in the KWL Hub, you were coming here to assignments, you were clicking on create assignment, you were clicking on this create assignment button, and you were following that workflow of creating the assignment here. And you can still do that, which is wonderful, but you now have an additional way in which you can go about creating assignments in the KWL Hub. So to do that, we're actually going to jump into our actual book. So to do that, we come up here to Content and My Books. And here we open up our content library. So I have access to all of our amazing books, but again, you'll probably just have the books you're teaching with, which may be one or a couple. So I'm going to go to my personal favorite book, which is Reporteros, and I'm going to click on it to open it. And it will open up our course player. And reminder that this will always open up to the last place that you were exploring content. So when I was last opening it, I was here in the student edition in the ebook. So now we have the ability that while I'm planning my lessons, maybe I'm here in the interactive student edition. I'm in unit 2, which is my personal favorite because I am a big fan of Puerto Rico. And I decide I love these activities. As I'm scrolling through them, I realize that this is just the perfect activity for my students, and I think these look great. So rather than having to maybe write these down, save it for later, create those assignments back in that portal, you now have the ability to do it directly in the platform with this new button here in the top right-hand corner called Create New Assignment. So if I click on this button, I'm going to choose Graded Assignment, and then it's going to open up that same workflow that you've seen before outside of the book, but now it's right here embedded in the book. And one of the greatest benefits as well is that it pre-selects all the activities you were just looking at. So you don't have to go in and find them. It's opened up to right where you are in the book, and it's selected those activities. Maybe I don't want all of those activities. I'm actually feeling like I don't really want to grade this weekend. So I think I'm going to take out these teacher graded activities and I'm just going to put in these 2 auto graded activities. And actually, maybe I want to assign an additional one from the next page. So let's add this one in here. And again, you remember, just like before, you can always add in from many different places. It could be the textbook, the workbook. The sky is the limit. So, but I'm good with those right now. So I'm going to go ahead and just as I would before, I'm going to name my assignment. So I'm going to say Spanish 1, Unit 2, Lesson 1, Homework 4. Okay. And again, you can name whatever you like. I really love this big to small convention because it makes it easier for me to find my assignments later on. I'm going to go ahead. If you'd like, you can choose an assignment category. Remember, these are completely custom to you. So I'm not going to do one for today. And then I'm not going to do an assignment description or add any additional files, but those are always available to you as well. And before I go ahead and create my assignment, I have up in the top right-hand corner, assignment settings. So I'm going to open these up and quickly review what each of these does for you. So we have a quick recap of that. So first we have allow activity skip. Now this does not let your students skip an activity and completely not have to do it. It allows them to skip around. So we saw I just did 3 different activities in this one section. So if I did not click that button, they would have to do this activity first, then this one, then the next one. They have to go in that order and they can't move on to the next assignment until the first one is complete. So I really like my students to be able to look around, get a good idea of what their homework is, and then decide how they want to tackle it. So I'm going to turn this on. Assignment summary, highly recommend turning this on. This is going to give your students a nice snapshot at the end of submitting their assignment of telling them how many they got right, how many got that wrong, if what their score is, if any of the activities are being weighted on to be graded by you, the teacher. It's just a really nice kind of overview, and we'll look at what that looks like later. And I think it's just a great, nice summary for your students to look over. Multiple attempts allows your students to have multiple tries at those auto-graded activities. So it's a really great resource for your students to really try things out, learn from their mistakes, and move forward correctly. And if you turn it on, it's limitless attempts. If you want to select how many attempts they have, you simply need to type it in. So I'm going to do 3 attempts. I feel like that's probably a good, nice middle ground for my students to have a couple tries, but not go out of control. Hide responses is a newer feature that we've added in, which is really great, which is that you have the ability to choose when your students are able to see the answers. So maybe you don't want your students screenshotting, making a group chat, dispersing the answers to everyone, whether they've done the assignment or not. So this would be a great way for you to use that and kind of prevent that cheating. So what you can do is you can click on here and decide when you want those answers to be released. So I'm going to assign this homework for tonight. So I'm going to say the answers are not going to be visible until Friday. That's when I'll have decided everyone's kind of looked everything over and I'm good to go. Then at the bottom, we have the ability to do a custom message. This is going to be so that you can choose a grade range and have a custom message appear depending on if your students fall within that range. So I can say if my students get between a 0 and a 50, I'm going to say, come see me for help. And you can add more if you would like, or you can just keep it to 1 or none. In the top, we have shuffle activity. So this is going to shuffle the order in which the activities appear for each individual students when they log in. And then lastly, we have time limit. So this is going to limit the actual number of minutes that your students have to complete the assignment from once they open it. So I'm not going to do a time limit, but if I did, maybe I could do 10 minutes. And then once my students open it, it will say they have 10 minutes to complete it. And then within that 10 minutes, if they have not completed it, it will close it, save their work, and send it to your grade book. Keep in mind that your students do have the ability to leave the assignment and come back to it, which will put that time limit on hold. So just keep that in the back of your head when you're using that feature if you decide to use it. So I am good to go. I love these assignment settings, and I'm going to go ahead and click Create Assignment. So now we have this pop-up here and it says, do you want to finalize and create the assignment? So this is basically, I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And now it's going to say, do you want to assign it or go back to the book? So this is very similar to kind of online shopping where, you put something into your cart and it says, do you want to keep shopping or do you want to check out? So if I want to keep shopping, I'm going to click back to book. So maybe I want to add another assignment for my next class or for next week. But I'm like, no, I'm ready to assign. That's going to be me checking out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So I'm going to click yes, assign. And then now I have that same assignment flow where I can choose who's getting this assignment and when it's due. So I'm going to go ahead and assign it to this class. I'm going to say it's available right away so they can start working on it as soon as I create it. And then it's due tonight at 11:55. The last part is this available after due date. Highly recommend if you are in K-12, you absolutely select this button because if you do not select this button, once the due date passes, your students will not be able to open or complete that assignment at all, whether they have a valid reason like being sick or an invalid reason. So highly recommend that you go ahead and you click that button so that way your students can turn it in late and then you have the ability to choose whether or not you want to apply a penalty because of that lateness. Speaking of applying penalties because of lateness, we have a new feature here as well, which is the ability to apply a penalty automatically depending upon when a student hands it in. So if I say, actually, I would like to, go ahead and apply an 11% penalty if my students, hand it in late, or maybe I want a 50% penalty if my students hand it in late. I go ahead and I enter in the points, and you can see it automatically calculates the percentage for me so I know exactly what penalty they're getting. And then I'm going to go ahead and select the due date that if they hand it in after, this date at 11:55, one day late, then it's going to go ahead and apply that 50% penalty for me. I don't have to go ahead and do that manually. It will do it on my behalf. So I'm going to go ahead and click assign. And now it has successfully been assigned to all of my students in that class, and they can start working on it right away because that's what I set for them, which is really great. And maybe now I'm going to keep going in the book. I'm looking at what I'm going to do for next week with my students. So I'm going to be over here in our grammar section, and maybe I want to do some grammar review with them before we go into the next part of the book. So I can do that same process here, creating the assignment. And what's really great is another new feature, which is that if I go in to click on my settings again, it's going to have all of those same settings that I just did saved. So you don't have to redo them. They're already preset to do it again for the next assignment that you're doing. So if you are going to be really super efficient, you're planning out your homeworks for the next week, the next month. I used to do a ton. This is going to be able to do them all in one shot with the same settings. You don't have to do it every time. But keep in mind that this is going to be for this single session. So if I log out of the platform and come back, these settings are not going to be here. It resets so that way, obviously, not every assignment we do, we want the same settings. So we want to be able to determine that and make it easy. So if you have a bunch of assignments that you know you want to plan, they have the same settings, you can stay in here, it'll save them for you, and they're ready to go. Or if you don't want to do that and you want to have completely different settings, you can always log out and come back in, and they will be reset for you. So I'm also going to go ahead and put this one in my queue and create this assignment. So I'm going to say Spanish 4, homework 3. I'm going to keep it nice and short and sweet for this one. I'm going to keep all the activities that you see here. I'm going to click create assignment. I'm going to finalize it. It's good to go. And I'm not going to assign. I'm just going to go back to the book. And the reason why I'm showing that is because if you want to go ahead and create a bunch of assignments, but you're not ready to assign them yet, you don't want to send them out to your students, you want to come back to this later, you can still do that in the old way. So we're going to go ahead and leave the book, and you can come back into assignments and create assignment. And then here are those assignments we just created. Here's the one that we created and assigned together. And we can see that because it says assigned to demo class, and here it is the date. And then here's the one that we created, but we didn't assign it to anyone. So if we want to go ahead and assign that, remember you can come down to this little hamburger menu, click on it, and it will expand to give you additional options. So if you want to assign it, you go ahead and you click on this little check button, and that same assignment flow that we just did will pop back up again. Remember, we also have additional settings here that are available to you, like starring, editing, cloning, deleting it if you want. And we have a brand new one as well, which is this little chain link icon that you see here. So this is our new shareable link. So let's say, for example, I use Google Classroom with my students, and I want to share this link to my stream so they have easy access to go and open up this assignment right away. You can click on this little chain link icon. It tells you at the top, direct link copied successfully. So it's already on your clipboard. And then once you go into Google Classroom or whatever you want to use to share it, even emailing it, you're going to go ahead, paste that link to your students, and then your students will have instant access to go directly to this assignment. Keep in mind, it is going to ask them to sign in. We want to make sure that they do have an access code and they're set up to be in your class. So they will still have to sign in. But then once they go ahead and sign in, they'll be able to go right to that assignment directly, which is really wonderful. Okay, so those are all of our assignment creation new updates. So we're going to go ahead and just quickly review on here. What are the ones we just went over? So again, we went over our new settings for assignment creation of creating assignments directly from within the course player. those assignment settings being saved in the same session for future use. We also have that option to assign automatic late work penalties and that direct linking of assignments. And in case you forgot anything or you want to review something, don't worry. Remember, you're getting a full copy of these slides, and we've gone ahead and put explanations of all of those assignment settings we went over. You also have a clear view. This is what that summary looks like that we talked about in regards to some this assignment settings. If you do the summary, this is what it looks like for your students. So very nice and easy to see a screenshot of kind of what they did and how they did on your assignment. And we also have some nice shortcuts and explanations of all of those different assignment save or setting tools when you're actually going to assign work. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the KWL Hub because we're going to go into our next section, which is we're talking about what's new in the grade book. So when we're looking at the grade book, we have some new features. So the first one is that, when we are going into our grade book, if we want to check out student work, we're going to go ahead and click on classes and open up. Here's our full grade book. So remember, the date range is going to default to 6 months of either the first half or not 6 months, the whole academic year for you. So you have it nice and ready to go, and you can always change the date that you're looking at, as well as the classes and all those different things up here at the top. So one thing that's really wonderful when we're going into our classes now is we now have the availability to reassign work to a student. So if I open up this class and I have my favorite student here, Frida Kahlo, and she tells me that she did this assignment, but she forgot all of her accents. And so she got a really terrible grade, even though she knew the right answers. So I want to give her a chance to try again and redo that assignment for a better grade. So now I can go ahead and go do that. If I open up Frida's grades, I can see all of her grades here. And I can see over here on the right-hand side, every single assignment has this new reassign button. So I can see she tells me, wow, I did a terrible job in this assignment. I'd really love to try again. So I can go ahead and click this reassign button, and I can check a new due date for her. So I can say, yes, you can do it, but you have a week to get it back into me. Otherwise, I'm not accepting credit. So I'm going to go ahead and put that new due date for her. She'll be able to see it on her end in her student perspective. And I'm going to click OK. And now that work has been reset for her. And you can see it's actually refreshing my gradebook because now that work that she did, that poor grade, is gone. So please keep that in mind. If you do reset an assignment or reassign assignment to a student, it does erase their previous work. So please make sure that you keep that in mind when you are or are not reassigning work. I also want to point out to you when you're looking at student work over here, you can see all of their work. You can see whether or not they did it. So if it has this kind of grayed out line here, that means that they never handed it in to us. If you see a score, that means that they handed it in. We can see how many activities there were, how many they got right and wrong, etc. And if it is highlighted in orange, that means it was submitted after the due date. Okay, so you get a nice clear snapshot of exactly who handed in the work in on time and who handed it in late, which you can see Frida's done a lot of late work in my class. So again, that can help you to inform whether or not you want to give reassignments, etc. We also have some new features available in the gradebook, and we're looking at this larger picture, and maybe you spotted them when we were looking at them here. So there's two new buttons up in the top right-hand corner that we're going to go over together. So first we have bulk grade, and we have this little pencil icon. So the pencil icon, if we click on it, as you can see, it takes all of my grades and it turns them into these open text box. So this is going to allow you to very easily adjust multiple grades at once. So let's say, for example, my school doesn't let my students get less than a 50%. Well, now I can go in and I can adjust all of these grades to be exactly what I want them to be. So now everyone's getting, I think it's actually 13.5 is half of 27, but we're going to leave it at 13. So that way students I can quickly and easily update multiple grades at once. And all I have to do to keep this is I'm going to go ahead and click save. And now those grades are all instantly changed without having to go into each individual student, each individual assignment. Nice and easy peasy. The second one here is our bulk grade. So you can see actually, it's actually grayed out and I can't click on that. And that's because you need to choose a specific assignment you want to go into in order to bulk grade. So let's go ahead. We're going to clear all of these and we're going to scroll down to find one. Let's do this one. Oop, that was a terrible example. I need to find one that some students have done. Let's go ahead. There we go. Okay. So now that I've selected an actual assignment and someone in my class has done it, I can see now that that button is now blue and able for me to click it. So if I click on that, now I can see that I have the ability to bulk grade, or I think even a better way to look at it as quick grading. So you can choose multiple students from within your class, select their name, and you can change their score very, very quickly. So let's say it's a participation grade. I want to go ahead and give everyone an 100 very, very quickly. I can go ahead, select as many students as I want, click 100, click save, and it will make all of those students get an 100 in one swift move. So that's a new feature as well that we are really excited about. So we are just finished going over our gradebook items. So we have one last one that we want to go over, which is the new UX UI for students. So UX UI, if you don't know, UI stands for interface and UX is user experience. So we have a new user experience for students on the KWL Hub, which we are very excited with. So it's a great way for your students to interact with the content in a new and fresh way. So if you want to learn a little bit more about what this is about, you can go ahead and check out the KWL Hub blog for a user guide and a video on the new UX UI for students. And we will also be having a very specific webinar just to talk about the UX UI that's going to be on August 7th. So make sure that you are signed up for our webinar list and our newsletters so you can take a look at that yourself. But we will give you a nice little quick sneak peek. So I'm going to go back into the KWL Hub and I'm actually going to impersonate one of my students. So that way I can take a look. So remember, if you are in the KWL Hub, you can impersonate any of your students and look at their side of the account by going into roster and my students. And I'm going to go ahead and click on my student here, Frida Kahlo. And so now I can see that I log into her account and I can see this little bar at the top that says you are now using the new interface. You can switch back to the previous one from your profile settings. So students are all going to automatically get this new user interface. But if for some reason you decide, I'd really like my students to have the old interface, so I know what it looks like, I'm really familiar with it already, you can have your students change back. But we really recommend that everyone embrace this new user interface because it's going to be a great experience for your student. It's going to be a great way for them to interact with the content in a new, fresh, and more cleanly organized way. So if you do want to have your students go back to the old interface, you can do so by having them click on their profile in the top right-hand corner. And you are going to open up this new kind of drop down and you can see here this option to change to old version. So if I click on that, it will give me the option to switch to the old version, but I'm going to go ahead and stay in here so that way I can take you on a nice little look around of what we've changed for the new user experience. So first, you can see right away, we've changed this layout of this homepage for your students. So they're automatically logged in and brought right to their student library where they can see access they have to any book codes. Most students will have only one book, whereas the student, my example student Frida Kahlo, has access to two. So if your students would like to go into a book, you can go ahead and they can click on Open Book, or they can actually just click on the cover. It's great to know as well that you can see the expiration date of your book right at the very top, so your students know exactly when their license expires and they have easy access to that knowledge. So I'm going to click on Open Book. And now I can see the new course player. So we still have all of the same components we had before, but we have some great new features. So we have this really nice and easy search at the top. You can search for anything, anywhere in the books. You also have these nice, easy plus and minus buttons instead of those carrots we had before to easily identify where your students can collapse or expand on the information that they have available to them. So same content, just a little bit of remodeling and where it appears for you. And then the actual ebook itself has been reorganized as well. So a lot of our toolbar items were on the vertical side over here, and now they're at the top. So that way you have as much visual space as possible to view your book. We also have made it so that I'm going to jump to a different section of the book so we can see nice and easy all of the different pieces and where we can look at different content. So as we know, you have the ability to interact with a lot of different things in here. So let's, for example, say I want to, play an audio or a video. Your students still have access to those great hotspots like they did before. For example, we have this video hotspot that can easily open up our video of our reporter introducing herself and the region that she represents. They still have access to all of those great things directly in the book. They also have great annotation tools available to them, and they're a little bit more obvious here. As you can see, we already had the ability to bookmark, but now it's a little bit more clear and apparent that that is an available option for us. Your students have here in the bottom left, they can add virtual notes, sticky notes to themselves to remember things later on. They also can use this annotation tool to draw directly on their book and again, annotate their own personal experience of their virtual copy of the book. You also have your navigation up here to be able to get to different sections. So if I want to jump to maybe chapter 2, I just click on chapter 2 and it brings me right there. So again, I don't have to have this bar open all of the time to make sure that I'm able to kind of navigate around. I can have this nice big open screen of the content and easily jump around while still being in the book. You have access to all of your resources. Those hotspots are nice listed here in chronological order. They can refer back to those bookmarks they've saved, those notes that they've saved, those highlights that they've done, and they can also search within the content here. So there is so many great things that are available to you nice and easy in a very clean and concise way. And as you saw before, as I was navigating around, you can still click around. You can jump to different pages. You can decide between one page and 2 pages. And you can zoom in and zoom out on our wonderful reporters and any other characters in our books. So this is still very similar, but it's a little bit cleaner to make things easier to navigate for your students. We also have their assignment section where they can see all of their upcoming, missing, submitted, and graded assignments. They can search for them. They can organize them by due date, assigned date, and title. And they have access to their grade book where they'll be easily able to see all of their scores for their assignments that they've turned in, whether you've graded them yourself or they have them auto graded. And as a friendly reminder as well, they have this really wonderful notification tool, which lets them know when things have been assigned to them, they have gotten a grade submitted, you've provided them feedback, so they can really make sure that they're staying on top of everything and that they're ready to go. So those are all of our new features and updates that we're very excited about, including our assignment creation updates, our gradebook updates, and our brand new UX UI for students. And of course, we are always keeping things up to date and adding bigger and better things no matter what we are doing with the platform. So we have a couple of more items that are coming up and will be available and released soon on the platform. So these items are our skills portfolio, which will give you a clear record of all of your students' skills over their period of time using the KWL Hub, broken down by different types of skills like reading, writing, listening, and focusing on those different modes of communication. So that's coming up as well. We also will have folder management in our assignments. So if you want to create, for example, an assignment folder for Unit 1, and then create an assignment folder for Lesson 1, and then put assignments within those folders, you will have that very soon. And we're very excited about that. I am personally very excited. I'm an organization freak and I love folders upon folders upon folders. We also are going to be adding in gradebook categories. So you'll be able to create gradebook categories for your different types of assignments like homework, classwork, tests, etc. And you'll have the availability to create different weightings for those categories. So it will calculate your gradebook nice and cleanly for you and you don't have to do any extra work. And not only do we have a new UX UI for students, but we have one coming for teachers. We didn't forget about you. So we're very exciting to be having all of these on the precipice of being released. We can't wait for you to see them all. And if you want to stay up to date on which ones are coming, what they do, and what they look like for you, make sure that you bookmark the KWL Hub blog to stay up to date with all of our new features and know exactly how they work as soon as they come out. So I am actually on perfect time here to use our last 15 minutes to do our Q&A session. Remember, if you have a question at all for anything that we've talked about so far, you can go ahead and use that Q&A feature, submit your question, so that way we can either go over it now to as a group or Matthew can quickly answer them to you. So I'm going to take a sip of water, give you a moment to ask any final questions, and then we are going to go over some together. Alrighty, so Matthew, do we have any pressing questions that we want to go over as a group?
Let's see. So I was able to answer most of them. I think one that would be useful to kind of bring up again was about the assignment settings. So I have a question from Lisa. She was asking, can you set the assignment so that the assignment settings save permanently? And the answer I responded with was about the folders, right? You mentioned that's going to be coming out soon. So I shared that in the coming days, hopefully within the next week, teachers will be able to group assignments within folders, and you can even create a folder just for template assignments with those specific settings you would like to use and repeat for future assignments, and then you can use those, like I mentioned, as templates and copy them for future use.
Yes, that is a great response. So yes, we don't have the availability to create right now this permanent setting that every single assignment you ever create has the same settings. But again, you will be able to have those settings repopulate while you're in the same session. When you log out and come back in, they will reset. But just as Matthew said, you can create right now, if you wanted to, template assignments that have those settings preset. And then what you can do is clone them and use those same settings, but just modify what the assignments look like. And then definitely once we have that folders feature, it will be even better because you could make a folder called template assignments and have all of those different settings laid out for you, ready to go to clone and use for whatever you want to do. And I think it makes sense too that for different assignments, some of the activities like a true or false, I wouldn't want to necessarily give 10 attempts on because after one attempt, they should have the correct answer because it's a 50-50 shot. Whereas maybe if it's an assignment of all open-ended text where it's fill in the blank, that may be a situation where I would want to give them even more attempts, more time, etc., to really make sure that I'm catering my assignments to the need of the student and the task at hand. So definitely, I would recommend checking out that idea that Matthew shared of creating those template assignments with preset settings that you can clone and then adjust for the assignments, and definitely utilizing those folders once they release.
Okay, let me see. We have another question. I believe we covered it earlier, but it'd be good to refresh. Can we change the content of an assignment once it is assigned?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So it is important to know that once an assignment has been assigned, you cannot edit it. Any edits that you do actually make are not going to apply. And that's actually to protect you. So that way, it doesn't screw up your grade book. That if you add an assignment and someone already did it, that then that grade doesn't apply to the student who does it next. So definitely make sure that your assignments are good to go before you assign them. If you do assign it and you realize, oh shoot, I forgot to do XYZ, you can always just unassign it, then edit it, and then reassign it. Or you can always edit it, duplicate it, etc., whatever you need to make that new assignment reflect what you would like to do. Matthew, am I covering that all correctly?
I believe so, yes. That was a great answer.
Thank you.
Let me see. We did have another one coming in right now. Let me take a look.
Well, while we wait for those last questions, I'm going to go ahead and just quickly show our wrap up support and resources because I want to make sure you all have everything you need to make sure this next school year is the best one yet on the KWL Hub. So remember, how can you get support if you find yourself in a pickle or you have a question and you need an answer? Where do you go? So for self-learners, overview of features, and basic support questions, you have a variety of different things that are available to you. So as we mentioned earlier, we have our wonderful KWL support page. This is on our website. I highly recommend bookmarking this for future reference because it has dozens, if not hundreds, of articles about everything you could possibly want to know about what to do on the KWL Hub. And it's for all different circumstances. You have ones for students, so you can share them with your students as well. And it really takes you step by step with wonderful screenshots curated by our team to make sure that you have everything you need to take you through what you need to do on any place on the KWL Hub. We also shared earlier, we have our wonderful Getting Started teacher guides. Those are going to go ahead and remind you of all the things we talked about today and make sure you have everything ready to go when you're getting started on the KWL Hub, whether it's the first time or for the 10th time in a new school year. You have that nice checklist we went over at the beginning. We have, great video tutorials on our YouTube channel, so I definitely recommend checking those out as well. I love a good YouTube tutorial. It's how I taught myself to do most of my crafts I talked about earlier, so definitely check those out as well. And then we also have the KWL Hub blog. As we've talked about many times already, this is a great resource to have ready to go to find out any of those new features and how to use them. So you don't have to wait for a new session like this. Once a new feature is available and you go, hey, that button's new, go to the KWL Hub blog. I'm sure there is an article for you to tell you exactly what that is and how you can go about using it. And remember, if you are subscribed to our newsletter, you will get regular reminders of lots of different things like this, including blog articles and new releases that we have, not only in our catalog, but also on the platform. If you need more tailored support when you are teaching, don't forget we have so many different things that are more unique to you. So definitely remember your first line of defense when you're on the platform is that chatbot. If I go back onto the platform here, your students have it right here in the bottom right hand corner, but you have it here in the bottom left. So if you click it open, ask it a question, it is always on the job, 24/7, and it will always be available to answer you. We are also always regularly checking it to see what questions you guys are asking and whether we can train it to be more efficient and make sure we're answering any new questions we didn't even think of. You also have real people that you can talk to, not just a chatbot, which is our wonderful implementation team. So we do have these wonderful implementation office hours that are one-to-one support that is offered to you with our KWL materials. So you can go ahead and sign up for those when we have availability, and so do you, and talk to a real person to help you walk you through any question or concern that you might have. And if you have really in-depth troubleshooting that you need, that is something is just truly not working and our implementation team can't solve it, because that happens. We are not ed tech people, all of us. We can't all be as wonderful as Matthew. So we have our wonderful ed tech team that is happy to help you out. And the way you can get in contact with them is to fill out that customer support form. And again, nice reminder that it is meant to be for teachers or adults only. So if your students are experiencing issues, please fill it out on their behalf. You're going to be in the know and you're going to get a resolution and make sure that you're able to be successful moving forward. And some final reminders. As we saw before, you can impersonate your students and see what's going on in their accounts directly. So this is a wonderful way to troubleshoot. If your student says, hey, I can't see that homework assignment, or hey, I can't open my book, you can go, let me try it out. And you can go ahead and you can open up your account, go to your students and click impersonate, and then you'll be able to see exactly what that student sees. Because remember, you're literally logging into their real account. Keep in mind, it is their real account. So if you go ahead and poke around to see what their homework looks like and you do it, you did just do their homework for them. So just keep that in mind. It is their real live account, but it's a wonderful way to troubleshoot and just see on your end what they're seeing without them having to drag their Chromebook up to your desk. You also have that chatbot. It's such a great way as a first stop to ask any support. It knows so many things that you may need and will give you a quick, easy answer with no additional necessary steps. Don't forget, you will receive a recording of today's presentation and the slides if you want to review anything that I went over. I know I'm a fast talker. We will have that available to you that you can look it over whenever you feel is fit. And please always remember that our KWL team is here to support you and your students whenever you need it. So don't forget that we are all former teachers and we want to make sure that you feel so good in the classroom and that you have everything you need to have a great school year with your kids. So that all being said, Matthew, did we have another question that we wanted to go over as a team, or should I go ahead and go to the end of the slides?
We did have one more question just about the customer support form, but I can go ahead and
Yeah.
answer it. We had a
Okay.
teacher asking, or an attendee asking, is the customer support form available for college students? So adults, yes. So we just asked that for K-12 students that the teachers submit the form for them, but for our higher ed students, as long as you're above the age of 18, you're more than welcome to submit the form on your own behalf.
Absolutely. Well said. And thank you for that reminder. I think that's a great thing to say that it's not all students that we don't want filling out the form. Our higher ed students are adults and self-sufficient, and we want them to make sure that they are reaching out when they need help, not pestering their professors. So thank you for that reminder. All right, so that being said, that means we're just about ready to wrap up. We would really love and appreciate if you wouldn't mind giving us some feedback on the session because it means a lot to us to make sure that we are making these valuable to your time and that they're worth attending and sharing with your colleagues. So if you wouldn't mind filling out this survey form, we have the QR code here, and then Matthew can also go ahead and share the survey as well in the chat. And then we will also likely send the survey in the follow-up email where you will get the slides and the recording of today's session. So you have plenty of opportunities to fill it out. But while it's fresh in your mind, we'd love if you filled it out today. So please go ahead and do that. We really want to make sure we are making these worth your time and worth your while. And regardless, we feel so grateful that you joined us here today. We love spending time with you. We hope you enjoyed it as well, and we hope you'll see you in the future. So thank you all so much again for attending the session. We will be in touch soon and have a fantastic school year.